She called Prince Charming a stalker. She said that she would not bleach her skin at a time when nobody was saying anything negative about her. She's called Snow White weird. She claimed that the movie that Walt made was a relic of the past. She said so many crazy and vindictive things at this point, it's hard to keep track of it all. Now, Rachel Zegler is once again attempting to gaslight so many, but something funny happened. Even a friendly outlet like Cosmopolitan fact-checked her. On the same page, she tried the big spin. All right, folks, out of Cosmopolitan. Oh, you thought Zegler had hit rock bottom before. You thought Agatha was as bad as it could get. Well, get ready, because Zegler is going to get fact-checked in one of the most kind publications she could ever find. Here's what it says. What's your favorite thing about yourself? They're asking Zegler. Probably my ability to say no, which is newfound, and also my resilience, though knowing when to hide to rebuild myself. Oh, interesting. Give us an example of the last time you hid. Last summer. Why? Because the internet was raging on about something beyond my control. You got blanking canceled? And she says, for being brown. For having brown skin. For playing Snow White. There was a lot of harassment from a certain group of people. They were showing up at my apartment and screaming profanities.
Really?
And this is where the funniest thing I have seen in a long time happens. There is a bookmark on this. There is a
fact-checked her.
They fact-checked her in a footnote. Folks, you could not find somewhere that would be more apt to be kind to Zegler than Cosmopolitan. And here's what they fact-checked her with. While doing early interviews about her role as Snow White, Rachel called out the original 1937 movie for its dated ideas about women, among other things. The backlash was swift and harsh. So it wasn't for being brown. It was for being ugly. And I don't mean visually ugly. I mean being ugly towards Walt. Were you responding? Where I wanted to, in a way that it made it seem like it was tongue-in-cheek. Then it got to a point where it was not funny anymore, and I really hated myself for something that other people were telling me about myself. What, you're brown? But my ability to bounce back from that and still be passionate about the work I did for that project is something that I admire about myself. She goes on, folks, but I just want to take a moment here to recognize that Zegler tried to spin Cosmopolitan, and Cosmopolitan fact-checked her. Guys, who remembers the history of how this played out so we can refresh the minds of our audience so that they know that, no, Zegler, it's not because you're quote-unquote brown. That has Does anybody remember the very first thing? Nobody was saying a word about this. It wasn't on anyone's radar. And Zegler came out immediately with no prompting and said, I'm not going to bleach my skin for this role. That was her very first entry into announcing that she was Snow White. Panel, how does it feel to see Zegler now where she's actually being fact-checked by publications that should be absolutely on her side? It's egg on her face immediely. Maybe it's a turning point. I don't know. Panel, what do you think?
It's been weird. A couple of years. She needs to grow up. I mean, like literally needs to grow up because what has it been 2 years since the D23 interviews? And it's very clear that she has let this get really deep inside her. It's affecting other projects. Hopefully not the John Lasseter project, because I'm actually looking forward to that. She's not really to be seen. It's animation, but I hope that at some point in time, somebody takes her aside and she gets the right mentors. It's very clear she's not had the right mentors in her life, and she needs somebody to mentor her. And when I was young, you talked about some of the things I did before. I had a drama teacher, and my drama teacher told me the best piece of advice for if I ever happen to make it big in the business. She said, I don't care if you get super famous or if you don't ever get famous at all. She said, never believe about you what they write about you. And it was the best piece of advice I'd ever gotten.
So let me ask this then to the panel, Ron. That's a great point. Why is it that Iman Vellani doesn't have these problems? Why does Jenna Ortega not have these problems? Why is it literally just Zegler? Why is it every single time? And if you look at it, okay, let's say it's not just Zegler. It's Brie Larson. It's Zegler. It used to be Jennifer Lawrence, right? We know the actresses and we know the actors who time after time after time, they're always in the middle of controversy. But this is the first time that I've ever seen one try to spin her situation and get fact-checked by a very left-leaning publication.
I think what happened was she saw Cynthia Erivo making an absolute jerk out of herself in the media over the last couple days, just multiple times. It was like, oh no, my place in Hollywood is being usurped. I have to get out there and win my crown back.
Well, she's on a mission. You got to give her that. You have got to give her that.
I mean, if we're comparing her to Jenna Ortega, which is I suppose they're both young women and they're both considered women of color in some way, but Jenna Ortega, one, appears to be a better actress. I think Rachel Zegler's probably got her on singing, but she doesn't seem like a drama kid, despite the fact that Jenna Ortega has been in the industry from a very young age. She was also she's only like 22 years old, but she's put in the work, and from everything that my sources have told me, she's very respectful on the set, but there are these little hints out there that she respectfully pushes back on things that she thinks shouldn't be done, as opposed to going out and try to wage this war in social media. And there are people out there that I think like Rachel Zegler, who think that if you sound offended in your personal life and you get your way because you sound offended in your personal life, that will translate into social media, that they think that everyone thinks like the cool kids club, the pretty girl at the table. And if they can have their reaction from their little gaggle, a coven of friends, if you will, that is how the real world works. But no, the real world is not cool. The real world is a bunch of normal people who want to show up to a theater and see good-looking people, and they want to see a guy punch an evil person. They want to see a woman looking nice. They want to see someday my prince will come, and they don't want to be told that they are lesser or stupid or anything like that for liking the romantic elements of Snow White. I don't know what Rachel Zegler's problem is exactly, but I think she's probably not got a lot of life experience, and she sounds like she's a stuck-up brat. That's the worst thing I've said about her.
But you know, where does this ego come from? Like, where does the ego form itself from? Because this woman has achieved zero success, and I will say woman because I feel like a lot of people try to defend her by being like, she's just a kid. She's just a kid. No, she's a grown woman who should be out of college by now. So at the end of the day, where does this come from? Because she has made more bombs than Stark Enterprises.
But that's the thing, Marv.
Not a single successful movie yet. Go ahead, Kevin.
The petulance and entitlement are a heck of a drug. And it is something that has been allowed to foster, in particular, this young social media generation for decades. So all you're really seeing is some chickens coming home to roost. And she doesn't have the right people in her life to tell her when to shush. She's just behaving as she has been programmed to behave.
She very much acts like a 12-year-old narcissist and doing like a it seems to me that she's constantly trying to manipulate the audience. So she does things that are clearly controversial and will clearly start drama that's negative to her career and negative to the aspirations of whichever studio's behind her. And then she gaslights that, and then she repeats the process all over again. Let's read this that she says here. It says, well, for some people, it is the job. So I think it gets blurry. It's talking about, well, you know, it comes with the territory of being a celebrity. You're going to have detractors. And she responds and says, for sure. People say, well, that's what you signed up for. It's like, no, I signed up to make movies. I signed up to be in a Broadway show. I signed up to make music. I didn't sign up to be a plastic doll for a bunch of people to pull apart and play with. Well, actually, if you're playing Snow White, you actually, in your contract, did sign to become a plastic doll for little kids to do. Anyway, everybody's first comment to you is like, Twitter's not the world, babe. Just move on. And it's like, well, my dog is scared of cameras because of how many people used to be outside my building.
I'm sorry. Did you become a Hollywood celebrity and not know the paparazzi existed? What did you think was going to happen?
It's so bizarre. It is. I mean, just the things she says, and this thing that she's doing now, where she says that she's going to move. Well, she is. She's moving to New York to star in a Broadway play, and that's what she's going to do. And it's like, how can people not see that she's probably been advised to do a career change, and they're building up these stories around that because she's better. And by the way, I think she'll do far better on Broadway because some of her more abrasive statements won't be in the newspapers. And frankly, the audience that goes to Broadway is going to be more accepting of that.
No, I see. Here's, and just to bring up the list of films she's been in right now: West Side Story, Shazam,
Flop.
Fury of the Gods,
Big flop.
Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, also
Worst of
flop.
the franchise.
Yeah, something called Y2K, Spellbound, which is going straight to Netflix, hasn't come out yet, and Snow White. And Snow White will not make its money back. It's going to be possibly a $500 million loss for the Walt Disney Company if they pay to advertise it. So the only thing that she has is this Romeo plus Juliet that's going to be playing at the Circle and Square Theater in Broadway. But right now, there's a name that I don't know if any of you are familiar with, but Charlie D'Amelio is doing a play called And Juliet, and everybody likes her. And she's also pretty, and she is great at social media. And if they're trying to bring in the audience that Rachel Zegler should be bringing in, Charlie D'Amelio is going to beat the pants off of her.
Well,
All I know is this woman does not make money.
Until no one in this audience has any idea who I'm talking about. She's really big on TikTok.
Well, Rachel seems like she. I'm sorry. I was just going to say Rachel seems like she's trying to be the AOC of young female celebrities. To me, she comes across in social media like AOC comes across.
Ron, I've never heard anybody say that. You have hit it spot on. And the problem with being AOC, if you're going to be an actress, is that it's going to limit you to maybe a third of all the demographics across the market are going to want that. That's the problem. So ultra confident, also says things without very much knowledge of the subject matter whatsoever, then makes huge mistakes, then gaslights you as to what's happening, then blames everyone else for the situation, then does it again without a single lesson learned. That's Zegler in a nutshell. Guys, any other thoughts before we wrap up Zegler?
She needs a publicist.
It's really
wrap up.
I personally think it's really self-destruction on her part. You know, we're kind of used to at this point, you know, seeing a lot of celebrities making it all about, you know, their appearance and such. We're seeing that with the witch actor, not the show we're talking about tonight, Wicked Witch of the West, like the Wizard of Oz thing coming out here soon. You can tell
Cynthia Erivo is who you're talking about.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you, Marvin.
She's the lead story for the Pro Show tomorrow, folks. She's doing her darndest to screw that box office up.
Yeah. And I think the main difference between, say, like with Zegler is she went and attacked Snow White. And the difference with that is when you go out and you say like how problematic Snow White is, you can have all your political opinions on X. You can say all you want about how you're going to be this symbol of a generation, you know, and all your struggles you're going through. When you attack Snow White, you're not just attacking Walt. You're attacking so many fans of that. And whether people realize it or not, they hold on to those movies almost like their family because they have memories attached to those VHS tapes they used to watch. Or heck, when they're watching it with their own kids now on Disney Plus, or maybe their grandma. When you attack that, it becomes personal. And you're basically telling those people, your childhood was problematic and it didn't matter.
And she also attacked the ride.
Exactly.
I mean,
Like,
there's
you've
nothing
struck a
safe
chord
from
with
Zegler.
people.
Someday my stalker will come.
Wilton, what are you doing?
Well, word on the street is the culture war has officially made it to the doorstep of that park place. And I realize Jonas has no one there who loves him. So I thought I should go and protect them.
Yeah, okay. You know, that's not, how you do this, right?
Do what? Fight? Don't worry, Floral. I will not be intimidated by a criminal threat.
Threat? Wilton, don't be ridiculous.
What does it matter to me? I have only one life to lose.
I mean, I totally expected you to die walking into traffic, but,
They may take our lives, but they'll never take our freedom!
Okay, just stop. This is just nonsense. You already have one of the easiest and most effective tools and weapons at your fingertips.
My axe?
No. The truth. Stay smart and ready to tell and share the truth by keeping up to date with WDW Pro, That Park Place, as well as Valiant Renegade. Don't
And
do...
Jonas? I mean, he does things with Vash, and that's not very reassuring. That's like putting two helpless chipmunks into a piranha pond.
That's neither true nor accurate. Unlike the team from That Park Place.
Sue me.
Ugh.